What's up? Haha. It's been a little while. I've been very busy though. I have not been slacking. We've been doing a lot of work on the website, pumping a lot of content on YouTube. So if you're watching me on YouTube, you've been seeing the content. Really just innovating with our company and coming up with new ideas and how we can be better at what we do. And I went on vacation last week. That was kind of fun. Went to Punta Cana. I love that place. All right, so a lot has been happening lately, and a lot of my friends have been calling me like, "Hey, Dave, Elon and Trump, whose side you picking?" Right. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to lead us into the debt, and then another thing that a lot of my friends are calling me about is XRP. All right. So if you've heard of XRP, if you think of investing in XRP, you may not like what I have to say if you're a big fan, but I just speak facts. I don't care. Not financial advice. It's just like me, some guy on the internet telling you what I do and how I see things. All right. So let's get into Elon and Trump. So I went on Grok. I love Grok. And I asked Grok, I said, make me a funny picture of Elon and Trump fighting. And this is what it came up with. I don't know why Elon's tag is like in Russian. And the little spaceship in the background is kind of funny too. But it always makes two pictures. So this was the second one it made. I don't know what the heck is on Trump's eyes. It's like a sandwich or a pie or something. Elon all of a sudden looks like a dinosaur. So, it is what it is. On a side note, really quick, Grok got into some trouble last night. I don't know if you saw. So, I'm very bullish on AI. This is still the infantile time of AI, right? AI is not perfect, okay? But it's getting better every day. This is the worst it will ever be. I bought the Tesla. I don't drive anymore. The car drives me everywhere, okay? To the point that my wife, when I'm driving, is like, can you please put self-driving on because you're a terrible driver. I hate driving. I'm bad at driving. The car does way better than me, but it is not perfect. But it's getting better every day. So I'm very bullish on the future of what AI holds, but AI is still infantile, right? So XAI, Grok got into some trouble last night. If you saw it online, I don't know. He started talking about Hitler and this and that. And, so these things happen, right? The CEO of Twitter stepped down today. Obviously something went awry, right? So then I saw this, just a little funny side note, another guy who got in trouble for talking about the same stuff, Kanye. So somebody put this meme up. Senior XAI engineer says Grok looks fine to me. And it's Kanye West, right? And then Elon is the first comment at the bottom, touche. So it is what it is, right? But it's the technology is growing, it's getting better every day. And, so there's going to be bumps in the road, and it is what it is. All right. So Trump versus Elon. Why do I not care? Okay. I don't care. I'm not choosing a side. I like both of those guys. I'm not going to get into who did what to who. It doesn't matter, right? In my opinion, they're both right for different reasons, right? I voted for Trump. A lot of things that I voted for Trump for got codified in the big, beautiful bill. Those things come at a massive cost. Elon is not happy about the cost. I don't disagree, right? If you've watched my channel for the last 2 years, way before Trump got reelected, I talk about debt all the time. My whole investing strategy is based on debt and AI, right? And I'll talk about the debt in a minute and how dramatic it's getting, okay? So, I don't disagree with either of them, right? If we add to the debt, which I think is something that will continue forever, right? If you had a magic money printer and you could print money at will and do all the amazing things you ever wanted to do and maybe help a few people along the way, but really do things for yourself, you would print the money. That's how the debt grows, right? So Bitcoin is my hedge to the debt, okay? And one of the ways we get out of debt, I'll talking about in a second, if we grow the economy, then that's my Tesla, NVIDIA, Solana investments, disruption, stuff like that, okay? So there's a lot of shade getting thrown around. I thought this was a funny, an interesting comment. I like Scott Bessent a lot, Treasury Secretary, way better than the last moron we had, Janet Yellen, right? This guy, Scott Bessent, smart guy, but he's like, I admire Elon's leadership on rockets. I'll take care of the finances, right? Like, Elon, you're too stupid to know about money. And I get it. Like, Scott Bessent is Trump's boy. They got to throw shade. You got to get in the ring with your boy. I get it, right? But let's not forget either, guys. Like, when Elon talks about money, dude is the greatest capital allocator in the history of the world. Okay, SpaceX yesterday just got a valuation increase from 350 billion to 400 billion. Okay, so $50 billion just like that by a guy who shouldn't talk about finances. So Elon knows his stuff when it comes to money, so both of them, again, I like both of them. So people call me if I'm choosing a side. I'm not. Again, I'm hedged either way, man. Watch my video I made before the election, and that's it. So the debt. Okay, let's get into the debt. So I'm going to leave this up here. I've used this site many times, usdebtclock.org. I encourage you to go on it. Our debt is $37 trillion. Okay, it's 123% of GDP. What does that mean? That means our debt right here, our GDP is right here on this screen, is $30 trillion. Okay, so our country is worth 30 trillion. That's what we put out a year, right? And we owe 37 trillion. So we're upside down, guys. Like our debt to income is upside down. No bank will loan this person money. Like it just wouldn't happen, right? So why is that? Like debt transcends politics. I've said this many times, right? It doesn't matter. As long as America has had credit and people are willing to buy our debt, America has been printing money and selling debt, right? And I think too, we pass laws to force entities and organizations to buy our debt. Look at banks. They have to have reserves. Insurance companies have to hold debt as reserves. So we create our own market for debt. And I'm going to talk about that some more when I talk about XRP, because this is something the XRP people are sleeping on, something very big that's happening. Okay. So we create our own market for our debt. Okay. I think we force other countries to buy our debt. Right? Hey, we're the police of the world. You want us, you want our military, you want this from us, you want to trade from us, you got to hold reserves. So we can create a market for our debt, and we've done it, And so what happened yesterday, okay, right here, I saw this tweet yesterday, and the following Congress's decision to raise the federal debt limit to 41.1 trillion. So we have 37 trillion in debt, and Congress basically, as part of the big, beautiful bill, which is what Elon was upset about, was the debt ceiling increase, which basically is a blank check for the government to spend more money. Literally in a day, $366 billion was added to the debt. So 1/3 of $1 trillion. So this thing's at 37 trillion. So we added 1/3 of $1 trillion to this, like 1% in a day. So it's never going away. It's like terminal velocity on the debt. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's never going to go away, and to make matters worse, a lot of this debt, a lot of this is coming up for refi, right? We got to refi this debt. These bills are coming due. The Treasuries coming due. We're paying right now, if you look right here, okay, we are paying over $1 trillion a year on debt interest. Like, so, we pay in 5 trillion in taxes, and $1 trillion of that goes to interest on the debt, and we're spending 7 trillion, which you can see right here. Whoops. Okay, we're spending 7 trillion. So we're running a deficit of $2 trillion every year. And we just put 366 billion on the balance sheet yesterday. And that was money, I guess, that like they had allocated, but they weren't allowed to spend till the bill passed. So it's just like everyone's writing these checks, man. So that's my Bitcoin thesis, right? You got to have hard assets, because when the debt goes up and we print money, it creates inflation. If you don't have assets, you lose. You're going to get killed. If you have assets, real estate, gold, silver, whatever, Pokemon cards, whatever the asset is, art, Bitcoin, whatever it is, own assets go up with inflation, okay? So now there's a lot of pressure. You may have seen in the news, Trump and Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, who Trump actually put in his first term. Biden left him, and now Powell's in until next year. And Powell, for whatever reason, refuses to lower the interest rate, and again, who knows, right? It doesn't matter, right? Like none of this stuff really matters in your day-to-day, but just understand that a lot of things are being mismanaged, and it just all leads to one thing: more debt, more money printing, less desire for the American dollar, less strength in the American dollar. So you got to hedge, okay? That's what Bitcoin and all my investing does. But Trump is very vocal. He's upset with Powell because Powell won't lower the rate. So if they lower the rate 3%, that brings the cost of interest down. And that's why Trump is so adamant about lowering it, right? Because we just can't afford it. We can't afford to refi our debt that was at 2% at 3% or 5% or whatever it is now. Okay, so how do we get out of debt, right? Like, how do we as a country how do we pay this off? Right? I'm gonna leave this up here while I'm talking because I think it's important. How do we pay this off? Well, I don't know. I don't think we ever really can. Right? So I think there's three ways out of debt. Okay. Way number one is cut spending and pay your debt. So instead of spending 7 trillion a year when we take in 5 trillion a year, spend 4 trillion a year, take that extra trillion and pay down your debt. A trillion a year, 37 years, through inflation and more taxes we'll take in, that number, we could probably pay it off faster. But who's gonna make those cuts, right? Doge came out, everyone freaked the hell out about Doge from every level, from the highest level of government to the guy next door to you, sitting next to you at the coffee shop. Everyone had an opinion. There's this, there's that. So we don't want to give it up. Right? Eventually, we're going to run out of money, but that would require making some serious cuts. There's no appetite for that. It's not going to happen. Option two, just keep printing money, man, and just print. And who cares, right? If we have $10 quadrillion, that 37 trillion doesn't matter anymore. But that only works for so long, which is my Bitcoin bet, right? And many countries have tried that over the years, and they've all failed. It doesn't end well. They call that the Great Reset, so you can print your way out and ruin everything. And again, if you don't have assets in that scenario, you're dead. All right. And number three, grow our way out of it. So that is the way I think where Trump is looking to do. He doesn't care about the debt. He wants to grow the economy. Okay. And I'm with that, obviously, right? We want America to grow, and Elon can grow the economy, man. It's AI, it's robotics, it's all the things that are going to grow. NVIDIA is part of that, right? AI, right? All these different companies, right? Microsoft, big into AI. Okay, so if we can grow our economy, we can shrink this number of 123%. If we can get that below 70, we win. So then my Tesla, Solana, NVIDIA bets pay off. So, and that's where the bone to pick is. So if we can grow the economy, I guess we win. But we got to grow the hell out of the economy to get it over that 37 trillion, where 37 trillion is only 70% of that. And I did a video on this before. I think we had to get it up to like 60 trillion or something like that. It's just crazy amount. Okay, so I don't know. So I'm not choosing sides. I'm totally hedged. All right, they're both my bros. I like them both. I see where they're both coming from. At the end of the day, guys, you got to protect yourself. And you got to invest in what you can control and understand that no matter the outcome, you want to put yourself in a position to win. All right. So finally, the last one today, the last topic of the day that a lot of my friends are calling me about, asking me about is XRP. What is XRP? It is a crypto token. Okay. So, let's pull up the charts, right? So this is coin market cap. These are the top coins. Okay. So you have Bitcoin, number one. Everybody knows about that. 109,000 a coin. Okay. Ethereum, number two, $2,600, $2,657. Number three is Tether, which we're going to talk about in a second. Number four is XRP, $2.37. So, you're watching these videos, you're like, all right, I got to get some Bitcoin, I got to get some assets, whatever. You're like, damn, Bitcoin's 109,000. I missed the boat. Ethereum's 2,657. It's too much. All right. Oh, look at this. XRP is number four. It's $2.37. Every time I put on Bloomberg, they're showing me the XRP price, right? Fox Business has the XRP price going on the bottom. It must be legit. I'm going to buy some. All right. Here's the problem with XRP, guys. All right. It's terrible. All right. Tokenomics, the financials of it are terrible. All right. Nobody uses it. Okay. So all these cryptos are just networks. They're networks that you can move money on digitally. That's it. That's what they are in their basic sense. All 20 trillion of them are designed to move money from person to person and move money around the world. Okay, so XRP's thesis, right? Their whole thing that they're about, their white paper, the point of buying XRP, they say, is to facilitate cross-border payments and for banks to move money from bank to bank, replacing the SWIFT system. So if you've ever had to wire money, you know that it takes forever and it's expensive. But all of these cryptos can do the exact same thing. So when you're investing, you need to find a moat, right? So a moat is what is like a castle, right? You have a castle and you have the water around it. That's a moat. So when you make an investment, you have to understand what the moat is around that investment, right? Tesla has a serious moat. Like their AI will never be touched. They have 10 years of driving, all this data fed into it. It's going to be very difficult for somebody to defeat that. Do you know what I mean? XRP's moat is the same as any other crypto, except the XRP Foundation, right? The Ripple Foundation that runs XRP can literally rein inflation on the token holders. Okay. So it's 8 to 25% annual inflation since 2012 when this stuff came out. So if you're making an investment to store value because you're worried about the debt increasing in inflation, but the asset you're holding is inflating just as rapidly as the dollars you're trying to get out of, you're never going to get ahead. That's the problem. Do you know what I mean? So I would say, look, do whatever you want, not financial advice, but do your research, guys. And another thing I noticed too is everybody who talks to me about XRP and they bought it has never actually used the XRP network. Okay, so if you buy XRP on Robinhood or Coinbase and you hold it on that platform, you're not actually using the network. And here's the thing nobody likes to talk about. Nobody uses that network, right? I don't even know how to get an XRP wallet, and I'm very well versed in crypto wallets. I could talk to you all day about how to set up a wallet, how passphrases work, all that stuff. And I don't even know, do they even have a wallet app? I have no idea. I've never used them. I don't care to use them, but most people who have talked to me are not holding XRP in self-custody, which means they've never even used the network, right? So getting back now to Scott Bessent, what I talked about earlier, what I think is going to totally, when you understand what's happening, what's going to kill the XRP moat, the business model, right? The bank-to-bank transfers and the cross-border payments, okay? The U.S. government, we talked about the debt, 37 trillion. They need a market for their debt, right? And people are catching on, right? Like countries don't want to buy our debt because we have too much. That's what happens, right? So now your credit rating drops. So the government under Trump, Scott Bessent, the whole crew, right? David Sachs, they all figured out quickly that stable coins, which is this right here, this is Tether, number 3 stable coin, and USDC, number 7 stable coin, okay? Stable coins are pegged to the dollar, okay? So you could put $1,000 in USDT, hold it in your crypto wallet, send it around the world. It's always worth $1, but it's pegged, it's backed by something. So you have to be careful because there are stable coins that will lose their peg and lose their value. But Tether and USDC are the 2 biggest ones. So what the government quickly realizes, all right, why don't we embrace stable coins? Why don't we pass some laws to regulate that market a little bit? And we just created a whole new market for our treasuries, for our debt, right? So now we can sell our debt to the stablecoin company and regulate them and make them hold debt one-to-one like a bank would hold it and protect the consumer, but at the same time buy our debt. Right? So why does any bank care about your Ripple token, your XRP token for their bank-to-bank transfers when the government is blessing with the Genius Act? If you've heard of the Genius Act, okay, it just passed the Senate. It's going through right now. Passed by the Senate in June, establishes a federal framework for regulating U.S. dollar-pegged stablecoins, one-to-one backing, audits, anti-money laundering. Basically, the government's like, yo, we're going to bless crypto with stablecoins. We're going to allow banks to use it. We're going to allow companies to use it, right? And it doesn't have to just be Tether and Circle. You can make your own stablecoin. So why is Bank of America, why is JP Morgan going to use the crappy XRP network to move money that they have no control over when they just make their own blockchain and move their own stable coins around? Many of you don't realize this. JP Morgan's had their own stable coin since I think 2017, JP coin, right? And they use it internally, right? Coinbase has the base network where you can move stuff around that they control. So now that the government is blessing this, it creates dollar dominance around the world. It lets people transact in dollars, right? They're all backed by US treasuries. So if there's $1 trillion of stable coins, there's $1 trillion of treasuries that got sold to back it. If you want to do business in the US, you got to follow these regulations. So they're all going to adapt it. So it's crazy, right? So if you're interested in that peer-to-peer cross-border payments, that thesis of bank transfers, me personally, again, not financial advice, but I'm not looking at the networks that transact XRP. I'm looking who are the networks that are moving the most stable coins. And I'm going to tell you the top 3 right now. Solana is number 1, Tron is number 2, and Ethereum is number 3. So if you're truly done your research and you're like, I'm into XRP because of the bank-to-bank transfers and the cross-border payments, understand that the stablecoin act, the United States government, they are backing stable coins, not any one stable coin, the concept of stable coins. So if you want to make that investment, I would say, not financial advice, invest in the blockchains that are moving the most stable coins. All right. So that's that. So that's enough about XRP. And just to show you right now, okay, this is the amount of money moving through stable coins a month. Okay. So this one right here, this is USDT. This is Tether. Okay. So right here on this chart, Tether is the number 3 crypto by valuation. There's $158 billion worth of Tether, and there's $61 billion worth of USDC, which USDC is run by Circle Corporation. They just went public on an IPO last month. The stock went from $30 on the IPO, got as high as $280 in a month. So the market is hungry for crypto, guys. Like Solana just had the ETF pass. There's so many things happening. Don't chase garbage. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's good. Don't chase garbage. Do your research, understand where it's going. This administration is very transparent. They are out there. They believe in the industry, probably selfishly, to sell treasuries, but who cares? Just like they're telegraphing it. It's not hard, okay? But Tether, the number 3 stable coin, is 158 billion. It's been audited, it's backed. They're, from the best I can tell, they're pretty solid. All right. They do $1 trillion of volume a month. Okay. For perspective, PayPal right here does 140 billion a month. Zelle does 83 billion. Venmo 26 billion, which I use Venmo a lot actually. Stripe, we use Stripe, 117 billion. Revolut, I think, is overseas in Europe. They do 108 billion. Wise 12 billion. And look at that, Western Union 9 billion, right? So Western Union was the way 20 years ago you would send money to somebody somewhere else. And Western Union charged crazy fees. There was all this stuff to do. Now you could literally go on your phone, get a Phantom wallet, 2 seconds, buy some stable coin, send it anywhere in the world, 1/8 of a second for an 1/8 of a penny. That's what I mean. This whole industry is getting disrupted. And if you add up all these TradFi, these fintech companies, they don't even do half of what Tether's doing. And that's just Tether. That's not even Circle and all the other stable coins. So guys, this is the real deal, right? PayPal has their own stable coin, PPUSD. And it's also on Venmo as well. PayPal and Venmo, I think, are the same company. But yeah, guys, so kind of a lot here. But it's been a little while. There was a lot to talk about. So hopefully my friends that are asking me these questions, I've answered all your questions. Comment below if I missed something, if I'm wrong. The XRP army is strong. They'll probably attack me. All good. Make my pages go viral. I love it. All right, guys. And whatever, do your own research. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. I'm just some dude on the internet. Make your own decisions. All right, guys. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Good to be back. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.